Hey guys, welcome to the Emergence podcast, a podcast that aims to empower fitness professionals through candid conversations about building sustainable minds, bodies, and businesses. I'm your host, Laura Gunder, ex professional ballet dancer turned classical Pilates instructor based in New York City, sharing my insights from a decades long journey navigating an industry with no set path to success. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hey guys, welcome to the walk. Happy Sunday. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Laura, your host, and it is such a beautiful day here in New York City. I just went for my own walk and re listened to the Chaz Knight episode on Emergence. And through my walk, I really was thinking about sort of my main takeaways from our conversation and was so inspired by Chaz's light, passion, insightfulness, and real curiosity and vibrance for the Pilates method and just for life in general. And his really kind of go getter attitude towards um, Pilates and towards building his business and sharing his knowledge and practice with teachers around the world. And something that I really found valuable from that conversation was kind of less is more, and how stripping kind of away all the noise around Pilates and really focusing on looking at the Pilates system as a system and a framework and not just a list of exercises that you kind of thoughtlessly go through with your client and just sort of like go through the motions, but really embodying and understanding and being able to verbalize and feel and touch and really embody the work of Pilates and how that is really the goal. And with that sort of mindset towards the classical Pilates system or just being a teacher of movement in general gives you so much more to work with than just kind of spitting out a list of exercises or kind of just going through the motions. And with that, I really kind of was re inspired myself to remember why I teach Pilates and why I love this work so much because it does suit everybody at every stage of life. You know, you can have a broken knee and still do Pilates. You can be a 20-year-old and do Pilates. You can be 50 years old, recovering from like, knee surgery or just a healthy 50-year-old, or you can even be 80 years old and just wanting to move gently. And it really meets you at any age and any era and any stage of life, pre and postpartum. And there's something so amazing about this method. And to really understand and grasp the full kind of benefit and capacity of this work, it starts with ourselves and our ability to really feel the work within our own bodies, to be able to translate it verbally through our cues, and to be very specific about what we're saying. And less is more in that. And I am working on that myself. But really being more mindful about the cues we're giving our clients and not overwhelming them with so many little nitpicky cues, which I know I can do myself. Sometimes I'll catch myself and be like, wow, Laura, you just need to shut the fuck up. Because sometimes I'm just like, left shoulder, right rib, pinky toe, earlobe, hair, and then it's just like your client's just laying there like, what? Like too much information. And when we're really tactical and specific about our cueing, the client is able to really focus on that one cue, and you're able to kind of get them in their bodies more than confusing them with so much minutia and details. I mean, something I've learned throughout my own practice is that as a teacher and a movement practitioner, I can take a bunch of cues, and I love a bunch of really technical small cues, but not all your clients can handle that. And there's really power in stepping back and saying less and being really mindful about the cues you do give and the exercises selection you do give. And when you are a more seasoned teacher, you're able to really use a system in a really, really nuanced way and your cues in a more nuanced way to get the most out of that client within the session by saying and doing less. That doesn't mean being less present, less active. It just means you're able to really, we say, said in this episode, like my mentor says, triage or sort of cut through all the noise and be very specific about cueing and picking exercises that that client needs to get them to the next variation or excel that, push them through the method and kind of progress them. And something Chaz really said for newer clients, newer teachers, excuse me, was the importance of looking at the Pilates system, not as a list of exercises, like I said, but as a whole system. And with that really starts with, doing your own self practice and making sure that you really understand the meat and potatoes of the Pilates system, which means understanding the order and understanding why we do each exercise and how one exercise builds onto another. And that takes a lot of time and practice, and it's a lifelong practice. But the more you can sort of sharpen your understanding of the work and feel it within your body, the easier it's going to be to translate it to your clients, and it will give you more information about how to progress your clients. And that's something that I think can get lost when we want to just, you know, give our clients the hardest workout possible or move them super fast through the system and get them doing advanced exercises because they think that's what's best for them. But you are the teacher, and to really progress a client, you actually have to go slow, excuse me, to really progress a client, you have to go slow to move fast. So that might mean, as Chaz said throughout this episode, is really building a strong foundational practice for your clients. This actually will mitigate injuries and will also give them a very strong foundation. So when they are ready for intermediate and advanced exercises, you won't even have to work so hard to progress them to the next level because they've always have that strong base and understanding of the foundational exercises. So, for newer teachers and for myself, I think it's a good reminder that it can be clients sometimes find it boring to continue to do the same things over and over again, but it's important to remember that foundation is the sole is the meat and potatoes, is the groundwork for all the other work you do. So it's like building a house on some toothpicks and expecting to build this amazing castle, but the foundation is complete utter shit. One thing goes wrong and the whole thing collapses. So when we think about building a workout for our clients or you're working with a new client and you have an idea of where you want to take them, start slow to go fast. And you'll see that they will progress much more quickly when they build that solid foundation and understanding of the beginner work. Something I also was thinking about on my walk and that Chaz said was that, you know, we all have so many more skill sets than just being a Pilates teacher. We all came to Pilates from different backgrounds, whether that be you were a dancer and you did it, a performer and you did it, an athlete, or maybe you're coming from a corporate background and transitioning from a corporate background into Pilates. But something I wanted to remind you and that I've kind of needed to remind myself is that it's important that we don't pinpoint ourselves into old narratives we have about ourselves. So, for me, I'm like, oh, for me, learning was always really, really difficult in terms of classical, the education system, the US education system. School was always really difficult for me. I had a learning disability and was like in resource center and always kind of thought I was stupid and just didn't really formulate or can pick up information very easily and had to work really, really hard to do well on tests and to kind of survive in school. But with that, I actually was able to really figure out how I learn best and understand that we all are all different. But when we take the time to kind of understand where we came from and understand our weaknesses, we can actually put in place systems and techniques that make it easier for us to learn in a way that's best suitable for me or best suitable for you. And so if you do struggle with certain things, or you have old narratives about yourself that you're stupid, you're not smart enough, or you're not a dancer, so Pilates isn't for you, which is totally not true, or I'm too athletic to do Pilates, or, like I'm not flexible enough to do Pilates, I'm too stiff to do Pilates. Whatever your narratives may be, that's totally not true. And that also goes into how we approach our business within the work. And remembering that we're all really multifaceted, and where we come from, we bring a set of skills. And just being a Pilates teacher, you have so many skills that you don't really think about, you have communication skills, critical thinking skills. You have to be really fast on your feet. You have psychological skills. You have to read the body and the client in front of you and make sure you can read their energy. And so you can tailor that session to what they need, depending on, what's going on in their life. Did they get like a couple hours of sleep? They're really tired. Because you want to retain that client. And to do that, you have to remember that they're human, like we're human, and that we're not robots. And some days are harder than others. And what's wonderful about the Pilates method is it meets you where you are on that day. And that's something we also talked about, which is really great. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind for your own self practice. Side note is that you're human and we go up and down, and this work can be hard, but I think the worst thing to do is just to fall off the wagon completely because you get so discouraged and you feel like you don't have time. Whereas just sort of surrendering, I think, to the fact that maybe you're having a hard time, but using the work in a nurturing way and in a productive way means maybe you do spine corrector. Maybe you do some rollback bar work or like a nice Cadillac workout. And then when you're next week, you go for that advanced reform. But the point is to keep your practice consistent and have that sort of accountability with yourself to know what you need, like you know what your clients need. And remember that you deserve the same amount of kind of grace and empathy that I know you guys extend to your clients. And something else we talked about was the kind of how you are not responsible for more than being a Pilates teacher. And I think I found that really funny because, yeah, we're not therapists and we're not physical therapists. And that client comes to you for a Pilates session. So it is your job to move them safely through the Pilates system and to give them a good experience and great energy and hands on. But it's not up to us to necessarily fix them or to stretch them or to talk to them about their feelings. I mean, obviously, be kind and generous, but something that I found was very important is that Chaz was like, you kind of set the tone from the minute you meet a new client. You set those boundaries and the expectations right away. Uh, like, I think it's very important to set a 24-hour cancellation policy for clients. Granted, if it's like in a medical emergency or, you know, an emergency that this is a client who never cancels and something happens, I will always sort of waive 1 to 2 sessions a year for clients if it's very last minute and they're not clients who cancel a lot, because I understand life happens, and especially when it comes to medical things, things happen and I do care about my clients, but it's very important to enforce those boundaries so they understand what the dynamic is, that you are the teacher and they are not in charge of the session, but you are. And that you also can maintain that relationship so that they remember that this is also your business. So you just set those expectations about being paid on time, preferably before the session, enforce your 24-hour cancellation policies, and, you know, really make sure that there's a sense of professionalism, which means on your side, maybe I like to send an email out during prior to summer when people are going to be traveling. So I have a better idea of what my schedule is going to be like and I can sort of fit other people in. A lot of my clients go away for the summer. So I'll send just a basic email being like, oh, everybody's traveling. Could you please let me know if you plan to give up your spots during the summer? And then if you're when coming back in the fall, if you would like to continue the same schedule for the fall, or if you would like to change to a different time, or if you plan to continue or not. And this kind of gives me more information and the ability to have a little bit more control over keeping that consistent business in and also being able to organize myself better for slower seasons and also kind of know what to prepare for busier seasons. So, having that sense of professionalism and kind of transparency with your clients will not only give alleviate you, but also will sort of set up that dynamic between you and them, where they will also tell you ahead of time when they will travel. So it's kind of a respect thing, and I find it's actually quite helpful and works really, really well. Something that we talked about was also being able to recalibrate, step back, and continuously throughout your Pilates career from kind of the beginning as you move through. It's just kind of, I think, do kind of maybe 2 or 3 month check ins and sort of evaluate, am I heading in the direction I want? And is there something I need to add or take away from what I'm doing right now, whether that be in your self practice, take away a client, add a class, maybe make more time for yourself that would help me to sustain myself better mentally, physically, and also maintain your business better. And health wise, am I fueling myself enough? So I think it is really important to have those check ins with yourself and be really, really honest with yourself, which is really hard. um, am I moving myself in the direction I want to be moving in? And if I'm not, what are the steps I need to take? And what things do I need to add or take away or change to sort of recalibrate and redirect myself in the direction that I'm interested in going? And I'm not saying that you need to know exactly where you want to go, but I think it is important to check in with yourself and make sure that you're kind of actions and your schedule is in alignment with where with the kind of fitness career you want or with the kind of life you want. Maybe Pilates or teaching fitness isn't your number one priority and, your family is, or you have other projects you're really interested in. But I think it's important to be honest with yourself, be honest about the energy and the expectation you have for yourself as a teacher and as a practitioner, and make sure that you're able to kind of adhere to the systems you put in place so you can really show up in the studio as your best self and teacher, even if it is a part time gig. I'm telling you, it will be more sustainable for you, regardless if it's full time, part time, um, is to be able to show up in that studio fully present. And that means being able to have those kind of 2 to 3 month check ins to make sure that you're know what you specifically need in order to be able to be present. And it also helps in other parts of life, honestly, um, is those check-ins and the radical honesty. And I can tell you from, yeah, I go back and forth all the time. Sometimes I'm very, very good and I feel like I'm getting enough sleep, I'm fueling my body correctly, but then maybe I slip back into old patterns and I'll be working 45 hours a week, no days off, over socializing, not giving myself self enough downtime, maybe not fueling my body with the most healthy foods because I'm not getting enough sleep. And that's totally fine. We're human. And I sometimes just need to be like, stop, Laura. We've been here before. What do we need from me more along these days is what do I need to take away? What is not really a priority right now? And how can I really prioritize sleep and nutrition and really be able to recenter myself so I can be more present, not only with my clients, but just within my daily life? And it's an ebb and flow and it will change constantly because life is unpredictable. But just making sure that you keep checking in with yourself, keep taking care of yourself, and keep showing up for yourself. So, those are some things that I took away from this Chaz Knight episode. And just also remember that this is supposed to be fun and that you should be enjoying moving and doing Pilates and connecting with other teachers and clients, and that life isn't that serious. And I really want you guys to feel supported and feel free to reach out with any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes. And happy Sunday, whatever you're listening to this, regardless if it's during the beginning, the end of your week. I hope it's going well. I'm rooting for you. And remember that you matter too. Check in with yourself and don't be so hard on yourself all the time. And just like remember that it's fun and we do this because we love it, and that it's important to just take a deep breath and keep on chugging. Bye.